welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie. This is the 8th day of VEDA. Video every day in April or August, but it's April this month. And for today, I am bringing you guys my March wrap up and stats. Okay, so last month when I finally got the hang of some things for February, I kind of liked how that showed up. So I think I'm going to do that once again for this month, for the month of March. Well, not this month because it's April and this is your March wrap up, but it's coming out like on time. What is my life right now? Yes. So as you guys may or may not know, I'm gonna be in this patch for 3 to 6 months. And I can definitely see that the eye issue is getting better, but at the same time, when I'm not wearing my patch, I can definitely feel the difference. And I can feel the pressure building back up, so that kind of sucks. So you're not here to hear about that. You're here for the things, all the things for reading. So let's just jump into it. For the month of March, I read a total of 25 books. That breaks down to 16 audiobooks, 9 ebooks, and of the total of those, 8 of them were ARCs. For the ratings, I had 1 DNF in the month of March. I had 0 1-stars, 0 2-stars, 3 3-star books, 16 4-star books, and 5 5-star books. For the Blackout Reads, which is me reading Black authors for the month of March, I read Bryce, the player number 1 by Nana Malone, Dax, the player number 2 by Nana Malone, Echo, the player number 3 by Nana Malone, Claimed, King Brothers number 1 by Lisa Lang Blakeney, Indebted, King Brothers number 2 by Lisa Lang Blakeney, Broken, King Brothers number 3 by Lisa Lang Blakeney, Promised, King Brothers number 4 by Lisa Lang Blakeney, Fox, the player number 4 by Nana Malone, Ransom, the player number 5 by Nana Malone, Gage, the player number 6 by Nana Malone, and there were a couple stories in Only One Bed anthology. Most definitely Lucy Eden is one of those, and then there may have been a couple other Black authors involved in that anthology. So for readathons, thank yous and challenges, thank you to all of my Patreon patrons. I'm sorry that I'm not tech savvy enough to figure out how to put your names up into this video that I'm doing on my phone, but I'm gonna keep looking, keep searching, and just know that I appreciate you guys for being there for me going through Patreon, and you know, y'all are awesome. I hope that the different tiers are enjoying the footage and book recommendations and videos that I am putting out for VEDA, video every day in April, and you know, what have you. I did participate in the brown nipple challenge that Nana Malone puts on by reading Lush Money by Angelina M. Lopez, and y'all, if you have not picked up this book, you need to, because it's awesome. It is awesome. The first book is going to make you want to pick up the second book. If the second book is going to make you want to really wait, you're waiting for the third book, but you're going to want to read the third book, and that's where I'm at currently. But I am a super fan of Angelina M. Lopez now, and if you want to see her talk, go check out Nana Malone's Talk to Me Thursday, where she does an interview for the Brown Nipple Challenge for March, and she talks with Angelina, and they're so much fun together. It's so good, so good. Go check them out. So let's get to my top 5 reads for the month of March, and as I said, I only had 5-star reads, so we're going to talk about them, and these are in no particular order. As a matter of fact, they're in the order that I read them in. So we started off the month reading The Things We Leave Behind. Nope. The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. This is a dual timeline story in which we are following the story of a granddaughter that is has been placed in power, I guess you could say. Oh my goodness. She inherits her grandmother's estate. That's what I wanted to get to. And her grandmother happens to be a prolific and amazing romance writer. But there's a story that her grandmother hasn't finished. And her mother ends up selling the story to a publishing company that gets a ghostwriter who happens to be another author that writes romance, but writes it in a very different way. So there's some conflict. And they end up finishing the story. But as you're going along, you find that there are some family secrets, and you're getting this dual timeline. The dual timeline happens to be during World War II and the bombings that were happening over in England. And oh, you guys, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Oh my goodness. Rebecca puts all of her heart and soul into this story. If you have followed the author Rebecca Yarros, then you know that she is a huge lover of history, and just the things that she ends up putting into this story are just beautiful and heartbreaking. And then she puts your heart back together, and you get these two love stories that are just like just so good, so good, so good. Oh, so good. The next book I want to rave about is The Right Kind of Wrong by Fabiola Francisco. And this is a best friend sister story, but then there's a pregnancy after a one-night stand and living abroad. What do you sacrifice for the things that you love? And you know, how do you make that jump to something that you thought you didn't want? And oh, it was so good. Fabiola does this amazing thing that kind of puts you in the mindset of someone living abroad, thanks to her experiences of living abroad. And I was here for this story. I loved it. Our main male character is so swoon-worthy and just so vulnerable. And he happens to be the character that doesn't want the commitment and doesn't think that he can commit to anything. And it just is so beautiful to watch him change and to fall and to give in. And I was just like, I just want to eat him up. I just want to eat him up. I just want to eat him up so much. So I loved it so very much. The next book that I'm going to rave about is Off the Record by Shel Sloan. And this threw my sports romance love on end. Normally in sports romances, we are hearing about the players of those different sports and how they're dealing. Well, Shel decided to do something completely different and talk about the coaching staff. We have this former player that has decided to take the coach route, and he goes in for an interview for this team. And well, actually, before he goes in for the interview, he is already known and stuff like that because his family is well known in the football sort of sphere. And he decides to get lunch before he goes in for his interview and sees this woman and starts to try and flirt with her. Well, come to find out that flirting ends up being a good little tip for her. She's a journalist and she scoops that story. Then they have to navigate the whole, he's the coach of the team that I am covering as a journalist. How do we work that together? And I love the story. I just love the aspect that it was a part of the coaching staff that that ends up being the main male character of the story. I loved it. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Lush Money by Angelina M. Lopez. This story was part of the Brown Nipple Challenge that Nana Malone puts on, and I am so happy that Nana has introduced me to Angelina, and I am going to fangirl over all of her work now. I'm going to follow her and read her books whenever she puts one out, because I loved Lush Money like no other. There is so much heart within this story, and it flips on in the trope of the billionaire and the blue collar kind of story. Whereas our billionaire is a female, strong, independent character that is such a good person. She contracts this blue collar guy, but at the same time, he's a royal to this small country that is in peril, that he needs, that he has to find a way to, you know, make things happen for his country to get him back on top. And the two of them work together. There's so much angst between them. You know that there's a connection. You see that, you know, even though she is very driven about what she wants out of their marriage of convenience, you can start, when her walls start to fall down and when his walls start to fall down, it's just like, oh, my heart. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And it was just so good. If you can listen to this on audiobook, I definitely recommend it, unless you are a Spanish speaker and can understand Spanish in a fluent way, because I don't speak Spanish, and I loved every single moment of the fact that the narrator spoke it to me, told me what it was, and I was here for it. I was like, yes, 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 yes. Like, to the point that I immediately dove into the next book of the series and am chomping at the bit for the third book in the series. Oh, can't wait for it. Final book that I'm talking about is Off Track, which is by Shel Sloan. This is the second book in the Nashville Fury series. The first book is Off the Record. This is the second book. I was chomping at the bit for this one, and I was lucky enough to read it as an arc, and super excited that I got to read it, because this was hinted at the end of the first book, or during the first book. You knew that this couple was doing some friends with benefits things. At least I had hoped they were, and they were. But I loved that we got to see more of the stepsister. You got to see her backstory. You got to see her flourish in this book. And then you got to see the best friend and other coach. So we're still dealing with the coaching staff in a sports romance, and I was here for it. I loved the angst, the push and the pull, and the things that they had going on. The one black moment that they did have, it didn't last. It happened. It was discussed, and we moved on. And I was like, yes, thank you for not putting me through too much heartache and pain, Shel. I appreciate you. I do. But there were a couple moments that I was just like, oh, okay, I kind of want a little bit something different. But overall, I am so happy with this series. I do think that we're going to get a player on the next book, in the third book, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to finding out, because I think the third book is going to be a player that we have seen in the other two books that we need his story. We need his story at this moment. I think we need the story. Still chomping at the bit. So those are my March wrap up and stats. Let me know if any of the books that I talked about sound enjoyable, like you're going to go out and check them out. It was a pretty good month, even though I'm recovering and will continue to recover. So there's that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. My Ko-fi, my PayPal, my Patreon, and all my social links are down in the description box. Let me know what you guys think. Yay. There's going to be a slideshow at the end with all of the books that I read in chronological order. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we will see you in another video.